the question began over a question over God's law. God makes up rules, just not natural design. If you break the rules, he punishes you. And the kind of law one believes God to run his universe upon changes how you understand God. You worship a different God. If God's law functions like human law, if it's imperial, requiring judicial oversight, requiring infliction of external punishments, and ultimately the ultimate punishment being death, then in such a universe where a deity kills his own disobedient children, is there real freedom? Is there? And without liberty, is there actual love? There's not. And what happens in the hearts and minds of intelligent beings when they're threatened? Fear and then rebellion. And notice, safety in a universe that is governed by an imperial dictator who is the source of inflicted punishment for disobedience, safety in that universe is by restraining the deity through law. We have a law. And the law says you can't kill us if the proper payment has been made. And this is why the imperial penal substitution liars cling to their lies, because it gives them a perverse power over God, claiming legal authority over his wrath by the blood of Jesus who paid their legal penalty for them. Therefore, God has no legal right to kill them anymore. And the legal penal theologians live in fear of what will happen if that payment isn't made. God will be required by law and justice to kill them. This is the height of paganism, where the ministering priests use their incantations and rituals and blood sacrifices to control the power of the deity. That's penal substitution theology, folks. See it for what it is. The blood of the human sacrifice offered to the deity to pay for my crime, so the deity has no power now to kill me. It's corrupt. And it's the heart. It's infected Christianity, and it infects Adventism. And the Adventist church was called specifically at this time in history to reject that and come back to worship in him who made the heavens and the earth, to see God's law as design law, to understand that it is through restoring his design in us through the work of Christ that we are actually brought back to eternal life. The final issues will revolve around the question of God's law and authority. Those who value Satan's view of law and justice will use Satan's methods of imposed law and coercive enforcement to get people to comply with their views. This is the beastly system of revelation. It doesn't come up promoting Satan worship. It comes up promoting justice of some kind. We've got to do the right thing. It may be through human governments they coerce, but it may also be through the merchants of the earth. If you read Revelation, it talks about the merchants of the earth. Through big business, no one can buy or sell save him who has the mark. Maybe you have a travel ban. Maybe you won't be able to go to college. Maybe you won't be able to enter buildings and do commerce and business if you don't get their mark. But the coercive pressures are the same. I want you to understand, I'll give you a formula. Here's Satan's formula. Here's the formula. See it. I'm going to walk you through history and show it to you. Satan lies. When the lies are believed, that breaks the circle of love and trust, which results in fear and selfishness, the survival drives. Threats. Survival drives cause us to be afraid. We see threats in the environment. Then Satan will act through his actors on the planet to actually create some actual physical threat to us. It could be a warring army. It could be a disease. It could be a beast. It could be, but we have a threat. We're threatened. That only makes our fear and our need to survive even worse. This results in then seeing more fear and more threats. Even when threats don't actually exist, we see them. We become hypervigilant in threat assessment to self-protection, which leads us then to need to feel safe. And so we need to exercise power over our community, our environment, people around us to make us feel safe. We need to compel them to behave in ways that will make us feel safe. So we will coerce others and even destroy others to make us feel safe. Lies believed break circle, love, and trust, incite fear, cause us to need to protect self. Some threat will be stirred up in the environment, often based on lies. Something real in the environment, but then magnified through lies. That makes us more fearful, see threats where threats don't even exist anymore, and then we begin using power to coerce and compel others. Let me give you some examples from history. Saddam Hussein in Iraq. Lies about weapons of mass destruction were told about Iraq. Those lies increased fear in people, and that fear caused us to need to protect ourselves. We need to survive. We need to protect ourselves, which resulted in nation states exercising their might and power to coerce, compel, kill, control, and destroy. Now we all feel safe. Nazi Germany, lies told about the Jews. Many lies told about the Jews. Lies increased the fear of the people about economic exploitation and other injury from the Jewish people, which increased the need to protect selves. And then the state began exercising its power to compel and destroy. And notice that the lies in Germany, in Nazi Germany, resulted in passing of incremental laws over multiple years that slowly encroached and took away liberties. Initial laws where you couldn't gather and protest, public demonstration was outlawed. Where you could do commerce if you were Jewish was outlawed. How you had to put a patch on your clothing. Different types of, you're a medical practitioner, your license was restricted to only people. In other words, lots and lots of incremental restrictions of liberties before they ever got to the point of genocide. Climate change. Lies are told and told and told. How about there is no God? We evolved. This is the philosophy of those who advance this. The globe is warming, and the future is global catastrophic climate destruction if we don't save ourselves by building our tower of carbon to heaven. Because there is no future new heaven and new earth. Jesus Christ is not coming back. The new earth doesn't get recreated, the home of the righteous. That's all lie. There is no God. We're on our own, folks. So we have more fear. Fear of the future. Fear of overpopulation. Fear of oceans rising. Fear of catastrophic climate collapse. And what does that do? It results in need to gain power and authority over others, to make others live in the way you want them to live. It means artificially raising prices of carbon-based energies, restricting liberties, restricting scientific investigation and publication, and restricting free speech.
That'll never happen.
I don't know if I told you, but 2 weeks ago we were censored on YouTube. YouTube censored us with a big warning that we violated their safe community standards by asking medical ethics questions. Here's another one. Satan's method, remember? Fear. There may be something real in the environment, a potential threat, but then it's magnified through lies. Lies that incite, break circle, love, incite fear, causing survival drives, need to pass laws to controllers. COVID-19. Real virus. But lie after lie after lie has been told about this thing, and all the lies in one direction to incite fear, which increase survival drives, which increase the sense of threat when minimal or no threat actually exists. For instance, I'll give you some lies that are now out in the open, out in the public. You used to be told just up until a couple weeks ago that if you're out in the outdoors, in nature, outside, that 10% risk of having COVID transmitted to you in the outside, in the outdoors. We now know that was all fraudulent information. It's less than 0.1% risk outside. It was inflated by over 100 times. What was the purpose of that? To make you more afraid. We were told that you, even outside, that to be safe, you have to stay 6 feet apart. We now know that is fraudulent. The data shows that there is no enhanced safety from 3 feet to 6 feet. You're just as safe at 3 feet as you are at 6 feet. But what was that designed to do? To make you afraid. That's what these are designed to do. And therefore, we need to use governmental economic coercion and pressure to get people to comply. Do you know that right now some people are calling for all types of coercive pressure to mandate people to get various types of things injected into their body? I know, in fact, it's very public. One of our U.S. senators went public. We have 100 senators. One of those 100 went public that under the advice of his medical doctor, because he had COVID-19 and recovered, and they drew, and he has antibodies, that his doctor advises him not to get the injection, that one of the major news networks, after he went public with this, accused him of being an agent for Russia. I'm not kidding. I can give you the documentation on this. This U.S. senator is labeled as an agent for Russia because he has immunity from his own immune system, having survived this, and his doctor recommends not getting the injection. He is now working for Russia. Understand the lies that are being told to incite fear. Yeah.
One item that I think bears mentioning here is that it doesn't matter if these lies are proven to be lies. The effect has already been accomplished. The fear has been incited.
That's right.
So even though the lie is proven wrong, what they wanted to do with it is already done.
You see this, I didn't have it in my notes, but since you mentioned that, I wrote a blog last year about the lies in the media over racism. There were several overt lies told, purposely, knowingly, and willfully. I will give you the example of the Covington Catholic schoolboys, who Washington Post, CNN settled multi-million-dollar defamation suits with because they fraudulently represented and edited what happened there as if these boys wearing MAGA hats were disparaging and attacking people of color, and it was exactly the opposite that was happening there, and it's so egregious. But those news stories went out repeatedly to incite fear, and even though it became be proven later that it was all false, people of color have more fear now. They're afraid. They're afraid it's not safe in this country. And they're still conditioned to be afraid. That's exactly correct. There's more stories like that. Now understand, a virus is released that causes disease, illness, and death in some. Viruses are not part of God's creation. They are an infestation of God's creation, just like computer viruses are not part of the operating system by the computer designer and maker. They are purposeful manipulations by hackers to attack and damage the systems that the creators of the software have made. Viruses that we experience in this world are not part of God's original creation. And this particular one, I've got a link here if you want to see it, well documented. It was manipulated by humans to magnify its capacity to infect human beings. We can argue all we want about why they did it. Some say it was because they wanted to find cures and protect us from the next plague. Others argue because it was a weapon. I don't know what the motives were, but the fact that it was gained and functioned by in a lab is pretty irrefutable at this point. The virus and illness incite fear in people. Fear is Satan's number one emotion that drives selfishness. And notice society today. We have a virus, but worse than having a virus, what's much worse to our society is the fear. The fear that we have is much worse than the virus itself. And what is the cure for lies? Truth cures lies. But notice today in our society, truth is not to be tolerated.
That's right.
Truth is to be silenced. Anybody who stands up and brings evidence in truth is labeled as a conspiracy nut, an anti-vaxxer, designed to. And we must keep the lies propagating because we must keep fear rising. Lies incite more fear, cause people to become more self-centered, which makes them more survival-driven, which causes them to be more sensitive or hyper-vigilant, so they see more threats. Other people who don't comply, and they want to feel safe, so they need to make more rules. They need to force other people to comply with their rules. And we need villains. We need villains. We need enemies that we can punish so we can feel safe. And so we make mandates on people that have no basis in actual evidence in science just to make us feel safer. You must wear this or do that or stay. We must shut down houses of worship. We must shut down schools. We must deny family members the ability to be with loved ones in hospice or just going through medical procedures of a serious nature. I know some of my patients had family members who had cardiac bypass surgery during this time, and they couldn't have family members with them in the recovery area. And anybody will tell you that the overwhelming evidence of science is you get better outcomes if you're supported by family than if you're in isolation. Multiple better outcomes, less pain medicines, less infections, shorter hospital stays, less death after major procedures. But it doesn't matter. We have to feel safe from a virus. And then people who ask questions must be deplatformed, shut down, censored. And then we instigate the largest human experiment ever done in the history of the planet. And we coerce and compel or bribe people to participate. So what does fear do to people? And where does the Sabbath fit into this?